In a major step towards normalcy, the CDC has relaxed its recommendations on wearing masks. The new guidance says people who are fully vaccinated no longer need to wear a mask or social distance when indoors. The CDC issued similar guidance a few weeks ago for outdoor activities. As of Thursday, nearly 120 million Americans have been fully vaccinated. That's about 35% of the country. President Biden praised the new guidance, calling it a, quote, great day for America, and saying those who have had their shots can once again shake hands and even hug. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes starts us off.
This recommendation holds true whether you are inside or outside.
President Biden hailed the new development in the Rose Garden.
And you can shake hands. You can even give each other a hug.
As the First Lady celebrated with a newly maskless crowd in West Virginia.
We just learned it as we got off the plane, and here I had gone out to buy one that was coordinated with my outfit, so.
The CDC says the updated guidance is based on new data about the powerful protection the shots provide. With nearly half of U.S. adults now fully vaccinated, new daily cases in the U.S. have dropped by a third just in the past 2 weeks, the lowest rate since last September. The Cleveland Clinic found that 99% of hospital admissions for COVID-19 this year involved people who were not fully vaccinated. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky.
Now, if you are immune compromised, you will most definitely want to talk to your doctor before giving up your mask.
For many Americans, donning a mask has become as automatic as putting on shoes. States and cities first began mandating masks more than a year ago.
As of midnight tonight, it will be a requirement.
There are some exceptions to the new guidelines. Everyone will still have to mask up in healthcare settings and on planes, buses, and other forms of public transportation. Some local businesses and workplaces may still require masks, too.
Going to see you again later.
But at this workplace, the changes were immediate. A meeting that began with masks ended without them after the new guidelines were announced halfway through.
We heard all about it. The president took his off, too. Yeah.
Nancy Cordes joins me now from the White House. Nancy, just a few weeks ago, the CDC said that vaccinated people didn't need to wear masks when outdoors, and now guidance includes indoor activities, again, for vaccinated people. This is obviously welcome news, but I also wonder, is the administration trying to sell this as a reason for people to get the vaccine?
The CDC insists that hopefully will be a byproduct, but that they are doing this based on the science, Lana. They have been very careful to make sure that they don't give the impression that they are doing this to try to achieve an outcome. They say that this is based on, several months now of data that they have that shows that people who are fully vaccinated simply are very unlikely to spread the virus either indoors or outdoors or in large groups, and therefore they don't need to wear the mask. Now, the concern is that if they're not wearing their masks, that people who are unvaccinated might decide to take off their masks as well. And President Biden acknowledged in his speech that there really is no enforcement mechanism here. There's no way to make sure that unvaccinated people continue to wear their masks. This is all going to operate on the honor system, and the hope is that those unvaccinated people will be motivated here to go ahead and get their shots, but to continue to wear their masks until they are fully vaccinated, not just for their own safety, but for the safety of those around them.
I wonder, too, is the change in mask policy an indication that the Biden administration feels like the country actually has a good handle on the virus now?
No, not necessarily. I think that they're very encouraged by the numbers that they're seeing. I mean, if you just look at the way that cases and deaths have plummeted, even in the past couple of weeks, the trend lines are certainly going in the right direction. But we still don't have 50% of the population fully vaccinated. There is a long way to go, but there has been this push-pull between wanting to reward the people who have been vaccinated, enabling them to get back to their lives in whatever ways they can, while continuing to cajole, incentivize people who haven't been vaccinated yet to go ahead and do so. So this is really a big milestone in the journey towards normalcy, particularly for people who have been fully vaccinated.
Yeah, I still think that Ohio's vaccine incentive policy, that $1 million lottery, is the right way to go.
Brilliant.
But let's shift gears a little bit. Yeah, so smart. President Biden also addressed the Colonial Pipeline, saying that fuel supply should begin returning to normal by the weekend. And Republicans have been really critical of the president and his response to this gas shortage and spiking prices. How did this become a political issue, Nancy?
Well, it became a political issue in the same way that everything becomes a political issue here in Washington. And it's hardly surprising at a time when the White House is proposing a $2.3 trillion infrastructure bill that Republicans would say, aha, see, here's a big infrastructure problem that you could not prevent and that your big bill would do nothing to solve. And so they are eager to highlight that. The White House, at the same time, has been very eager to sort of portray the image of being all over it. And that's part of the reason why the president came out and spoke about it today, wanting to make the point that things are getting back to normal sooner rather than later. The pipeline is now back up and running again. But it is going to take several days to work out the kinks here. You know, you're talking about a state like North Carolina where 70% of the gas stations still don't have gasoline. It's going to take a while to get all those gas stations back online. The White House has been arguing there really was nothing that they could have done to prevent this. This is a private company, Colonial, which runs its own cybersecurity network. And the White House press secretary acknowledged today that, yes, you know, they can put out executive orders, they can encourage companies to improve their cybersecurity, but they can't force them to. These are private companies, and they are going to use the cybersecurity methods that they think are warranted.
Yeah. You know, you brought up, Nancy, that $2.3 trillion infrastructure package, and President Biden obviously met with a group of Republican senators on Thursday to discuss that plan. Got to ask you, are you seeing any progress being made towards a bipartisan deal on that front?
Well, I think just the fact that they sat down is progress. You know, it shows that both sides see this as a good faith effort to try to reach some kind of compromise. Whether they will in the end remains to be seen. But afterwards, the president said that he basically laid out why he felt that all of this should be paid for with hiking corporate tax rates. And he told the Republicans in the room, if they don't want to do that, that they should come back to him with a more detailed proposal for how they think that the package should be paid for. And interestingly, in the briefing, I asked the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, whether the president was comfortable with not paying for some or all of this infrastructure package. I mean, after all, for decades, many Democrats have been comfortable with not paying for big infrastructure bills. They argue that these bills pay for themselves down the line because they help to spur the economy. And she didn't say definitively that this president needs to see the entire bill paid for. She says that he thinks that it's the responsible thing to do. But she left open the possibility that if that's the only way to get to a compromise is to agree, okay, we're not going to touch corporate taxes, but we're also going to leave some of this unfunded because we can't agree on how to pay for it. You know, she didn't close the door on that. So that is one way ahead for these two sides, even though there are certainly going to be some Republicans who insist that they're not going to vote for anything if it isn't paid for.
Yeah, that's an interesting bit of insight into the administration's strategy there. Nancy, always appreciate you coming on and giving us the full context.
Good to talk with you, too.